A breaking story out of Minnesota where at least 8 people were stabbed at a shopping mall. This happened just after 8 p.m. local time in St. Cloud, Minnesota, just about an hour outside of the Twin Cities area. According to police, a witness said the suspect made a reference to Allah and asked at least one person if they were Muslim before attacking them. Again, 8 people stabbed, treated for non-life-threatening injuries. 7 were released, and we know the suspect was shot and killed by an off-duty police officer.
The suspect was confronted by an off-duty officer not from St. Cloud and was shot and killed. There's no imminent threat, they said, to the citizens of St. Cloud. The Crossroads Mall is going to be closed until further notice, and due to the nature of this active crime scene investigation, no additional information is going to be released at this time. But again, an armed suspect entered the Crossroads Mall and, based on one witness account, made references to Allah and asked that, at least one person if they were Muslim before assaulting them. There are 8 victims now transported to a hospital.
Let's talk about the Minnesota attack, because ISIS's media arm claiming responsibility, saying that this individual was a soldier of the Islamic State, was an ISIS terrorist. What more do we know about this?
Well, I think what the FBI has at this point is that there's no reason to doubt what the ISIS media people say. And the language they use, which is a soldier of the Islamic State, is the typical language they use for people who are inspired. In other words, they're not directed. This is the language they use when these are people who may have sent some kind of message right before they carried out their attack. They might have posted something somewhere saying, I'm doing this in the name of, and then they go out and do their thing. It appears to be that would be the case. Again, there's tons of these people out there who could be inspired to act without anyone knowing anything about it beforehand.
The Associated Press is reporting this morning that an ISIS-linked news agency is claiming that the Minnesota mall stabber was, quote, a soldier of the Islamic State. Last night, you declined to call the attacks an act of terrorism. What do you now believe in light of this new information?
We still don't have anything substantive that would suggest anything more than what we know already, which is this was a lone attacker. And right now we're trying to get to the bottom of what his motivations were. As you would imagine, there are many moving parts. And I'm due for a briefing here in not too long from now so that I can find out what our investigators have been able to glean about this individual.
As of now, what do you know about reports that the individual mentioned Allah and asked his would-be victims if they were Muslim before he stabbed them?
I can tell you what I told our local media last evening, and I got the information from one of my investigators who spoke with a witness that the individual, the attacker himself, did ask some of the people if they were Muslim before they were attacked.
And what do we know about the perpetrator that you can tell us right now? He was apparently wearing a private security uniform. Did he work in security? And we're told that law enforcement was aware of him. Was he under any sort of surveillance?
He wasn't under any surveillance by our agency. We've had several contacts with him, mostly for minor traffic violations. We do know that he was wearing a private security uniform, and we're in the process right now of trying to figure out if he in fact worked for a private security company or if he worked for one previously. But again, hopefully all of those things will become much clearer after I'm able to talk with our investigators.
You say he was known to law enforcement mainly for small traffic violations, but that suggests that you maybe knew him for something else in addition?
No, there's no evidence that there was any other contacts with our agency and that individual.
And you also said yesterday, tomorrow St. Cloud will not be the same anymore. What do you mean by that? How do you think St. Cloud is going to change?
Whenever something as awful as this happens, it's hard for things to be the same as they were. I will tell you this, there are a lot of decent, hardworking, and resilient people in St. Cloud. And so I can tell you what is more likely to happen than not, and that is all of the wonderful partnerships and relationships and cohesion that we share as a community will be strengthened by this. It will not deteriorate as a result of this, but certainly things are different today here in St. Cloud than they were yesterday. I wasn't on CNN talking with you yesterday. I can tell you before I go back through the chronology that from the first 911 call till the subject was eliminated was approximately 5 minutes. And that's what we expect when something like this starts. We train to respond to these kinds of incidents swiftly, and that's exactly what happened yesterday. But for that swift response, particularly the actions of Officer Falconer, I agree with the mayor that this could have been much, much worse. And no one being injured obviously is acceptable, but this could have been a lot worse but for the swift response, not only from the men and women of St. Cloud Police Department, but all of our neighbors as well.
Let's unite as one Minnesota. Let's take love instead of hate. Let's preach the good of us, not the bad that just happens once in a while, and we don't hope for this to happen again. I said last night, not in St. Cloud. Not in St. Cloud. That's what I kept on telling my kids, not in St. Cloud. But I hope my neighbors, my co-workers, my friends, my community members, my elders, and everybody else will take this into heart. And please, let's spread love instead of hate. And I will say it again, ISIS does not represent us. It does not represent Islam. It does not represent the Somalis. It does not represent anybody of that faith. ISIS is a different faith from Islam. ISIS has their own religion and they have their own belief. So please, as Minnesotans, as St. Cloud, let's come together and let's be one.
I also want to recognize the individual off-duty police officer who eliminated the threat and took down the suspect. That officer is from the Avon Police Department, Jason Falconer. Jason Falconer is a part-time police officer for Avon. He is the former chief of police of Albany. He was in the mall, and as somebody who has had an opportunity to witness the surveillance tape in Macy's and witnessed what he did, he clearly prevented additional injuries and potentially loss of life. His heroic actions are exemplary, having witnessed what he did as the suspect was lunging at him with the knife. Not only did he fire, the suspect went down, he came back up on 3 different occasions. He, again, protected others from being injured and potentially loss of life. Clearly, a hero. Officer Falconer was there at the right time.